How was it feeling when you touched down?
It was actually the worst 2 weeks of my life. I remember crying. Oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Really?
You will not believe what happened. I can't believe you got it out of me. I don't think I've ever been this detailed with anyone. Back then, a lot of Ghanaians were saying they were Jamaican.
Why?
I know they're gonna all try to deny it, but everybody was saying they were Jamaican at one point. And I was like, no, you're not. You're my cousin. Do you know who we really bonded with? Asians.
Asians?
Yes, like Indians, Chinese, they were immigrants. We all kind of understood each other. Our foods are different than what people expect. So that was like our bonding. And I remember everybody thought it was crazy. They thought it was a boy. Like I'm coming back and met some boy. I'm like, no, there's no boy.
So there was no boy?
There was no boy. But I never realized that my parents had people watching me in the neighborhood. Somebody called my parents and told them that there's plenty men coming to pick up your daughter.
Wow.
The reason why traveling is important is because it allows you to appreciate Ghana. You go to South Africa, and South Africa is beautiful, but you'll also realize that South Africa isn't Ghana. When you go to Kenya, it's the same thing. My grandfather dying made me feel like I didn't get a chance to like show him me trying to live in Ghana and uphold their legacy that they had been building. Unless we start taking it seriously as Africans, that too would be something that is taken from us, like gold, silver, cocoa, everything. And we can't let them take away our creativity. It's the last thing that we have. You can't be laid off from being a creative. Only you yourself can stop yourself from being creative.
Hello guys, and welcome back again to another amazing episode. And this is the Diaspora Transition episode where we have dialogue with diasporans who relocated from the diaspora and currently living here on the continent. And today we do have someone very special, the co-founder of Jumbo Spaces. She goes by the name Therese. She's been in Ghana for 5 years, leaving the USA behind. I don't know why she did that, but she's here on the show to, talk to us about her journey, her reasons for making such decisions. So without further ado, welcome on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. And I've introduced you briefly. People watching you for the first time, I don't know who you are.
Yeah, of
Can
course.
you briefly introduce yourself to the people watching you for the first
Sure.
time?
So, as you mentioned, my name is Therese Jones. I also go by Ohima. I've been living in Ghana for 5 years, and I've been working in marketing and advertising and what I call the creator ecosystem on the continent. I've been behind a few big brands or campaigns on the continent. I worked with Coca-Cola, Fanta, MAC Cosmetics, you name it. I also worked with an agency. I also developed an agency that brought up local brands such as Bloom Bar. We've also worked with some other ones like East End as well, and the list goes on. So we've been busy. So from like Dirty Rave, Live Wired, we were the first to bring Rema, Tenny, a number of others into the country to kind of start developing that entertainment space, like way back in 2018, 2019, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I've been trying.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a huge portfolio. How long have you been in that industry for? I mean, did it start in Africa, or you've been doing that in the States before you moved down here?
I want to say that it did start before I came into Ghana, but definitely never at the scale that I've been able to accomplish until I got into the continent.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
In college, so I went to school for biology. Okay. Because Ghanaian parents, you gotta hit the big three. You can't waste school fees on anything. During school, my best friend and I hate going to clubs. I hate partying, but I knew my friends loved it. They were spending all their money on it. So my best friend and I decided to open our own club secretly. Off campus. We call ourselves HBIC Entertainment. And while we were in school, we started throwing parties, but we told our friends we just worked. So we were like, we just found a new job. We didn't want to tell people it was ours. So we would now run the space, and we were doing that for fun, and it was so exciting until the promoters in the space came and kicked us out. They were like, who are these people working for? And I think they found out it was just a bunch of young girls just trying to have fun during parties. So that's what started my leap into entertainment. And
what year was that?
The reason why I remember is because I remember we just left 2009 and we just went into 2010 and everybody was using 2K10. So yeah, it was like 2010.
Wow.
Yeah, around there. It was such an interesting era.
Now, and where we are currently recording this video is called Gendu Place. Gendu Place is a co-working space. They have restaurants in here, good internet. They have solar system as a backup, so when the electric run out, you don't run out of electricity. Come check it out if you're working from, home. You want to be able to plug and play. This place is the right place for you. Come check it out. Link in the description. Obviously, you have a different accent, but your name is Ohema. Ohema is a Ghanaian name.
Yeah.
Were you born in the States?
I was. So I was born and raised. Okay, so I was born in New York, the Bronx, and then I was raised in Connecticut.
Okay.
In a small farm town in Connecticut.
Okay.
So that's where I was raised.
Okay.
When I was 10, my parents moved to Connecticut. So yeah, but yeah, I'm Ghanaian through my parents. My dad is from Bonre.
Bonre?
Yeah,
okay.
Kente.
Yeah, Kente. Yeah,
so he's from Bonre. And my mom is a bit of a mix, but she also lived and grew up in Kumasi.
Okay.
But she's Fante, and my grandfather also came from Bonre with my Ejiso Krapa.
That's where your mom is from?
That's where my grandmother was from. So yes, that's where she likes to take them both because she feels like they both had their own identity in that side.
Now, Bonre is where the kente originated from. How they wave the kente.
Yes,
is that correct?
Mm-hmm. So I visit whenever I go to Kumasi. We always end up going to visit Bonre, just to show some love to where the original. I know the Voltarians are gonna come from me, but where the original kente came from.
I think it's fast though, right?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know because I know I've met some other people that will say, oh no, our kente is original. Some will say the Ashanti kente is original. So I know it's a small banter that people have. Yeah.
Let's go. I want to go back to the beginning of your story a little bit. Your parents leaving Ghana behind.
Yeah.
Going to the US to find greener pastures.
Yeah.
Being born there. Obviously you growing up, going to school in the States.
Oldest of 5.
Yeah. So talk me through that process to a point where you had to tell yourself that I want to embark on a journey to Africa to start this for myself.
So I'm like I mentioned, I'm the oldest of 5. My dad came from very humble beginnings. And when I see pictures, he has... I can't remember how many siblings, but I know it's more than 6 or 7. And he's not the oldest. He's maybe right in the middle. And he was one of the first of his family to travel. And he traveled to Liberia during the war. And when he tells the story, it's much more exciting. I won't even try because he's been telling that story since I was little. And I used to just listen to it. He would tell me all the things he missed about Ghana, farming, his grandmother, and I was just always this young girl, just inspired by it. Before 9/11, you were allowed to fly pretty easily. And we used to come to Ghana in the summer to come and visit our grandparents and things like that. So I still, I got to experience it, and then I'll go back to the States and then come back, experience it, and then go back. After 9/11, that stopped. We weren't able to travel, and my grandparents started coming to the States. But then I started to feel like I was losing. I stopped. I wasn't able to speak Tree anymore. There wasn't that many people around me that could speak. It's like you start losing your sense of identity slightly until my dad started buying movies. Those CDs, so Nanama McBrown, Ejako, all of them on those movies. And then I started understanding Tree by just watching them. Yes. So even though I can't speak it, so I understood how to understand it, and I could write in Tree just by watching those movies.
Wow.
And I used to feel wow, that's so powerful. Me being able to have access to Ghana through these films. I always told myself, me and my best friend would sit in the cafeteria. I know she got married a few years ago and she came here. She's like, you're really here. But we were sitting in the cafeteria how do we go back to Ghana? How do we make it happen? Because our parents are no, wait till you settle, wait till you get your job, but I was so anxious. I want to go and learn more about what's going on in Ghana. And it all started from hearing my dad's stories, watching those films, the music. they used to, in New York, they would sell in the African markets these CDs with all the music videos. So like you'll see like Shatta Wale, when before he was Shatta Wale, he was Bandana. Yes, like you would see his videos on there. You would see like, I don't know, different artists like Kojo Entry, Oforian Ponsa, and that was like all I had because I lived in Connecticut and I wasn't around that many other Ghanaians. So yeah, it was interesting. That was what was like motivating me to like really find a way to come back. Yeah.
Connecticut is it like a white dominated neighborhood, isn't it?
They call it a highway state.
Highway state.
So it's in between New York and Massachusetts. So in order for you to go between those major cities, you needed to pass through Connecticut.
Okay.
And yes, where we were, it was predominantly white. Where we first started was a little better. We lived in West Haven at first. But then we moved to another place called Torrington, and there was like maybe 10 Black families. Maybe.
Wow.
Back then, yeah, when I first moved.
I mean, obviously watching these movies at home would help you, but what would we say, did that contribute to, how did that make you feel though? Not growing up in a Black dominated environment, or even growing up in Ghana or somewhere in New York. I mean, there's more.
Yes, there's more everything.
Right.
So because we still have family in New York, when we first moved out of New York, it was hard for me. I'm the oldest, so I'm the only one that remembers the most about living in New York and then leaving. It felt like everything I knew was gone from me. Cousins, uncles, aunts, best friends. But 9/11 was a weird time, and my dad wanted us to be safe. And at that time, it just was a weird energy. Even a few of my other friends had moved from the Bronx as well during that time. So my dad got a raise at work, saw an opportunity to buy a house, and said he wanted to do it slightly outside of New York. And yeah, for a while, I didn't know how to respond to not really seeing people that sounded like me, looked like me. Some of my first interactions with people rejecting my food, like in terms of, I love a good rice and stew. Like, I love eto. It's like my favorite.
Eto. Oh, wow.
Yes. Like, these are foods I'm eating at home. I'm enjoying my family. And then you're kind of being rejected because
of what you eat.
Yeah, like some people are just not used to the smells. They're not used to the way it looks. So they're like, what's that? That looks weird. And they're kids. Kids are not nice, not nice at all. And I remember one time my mom thought she was doing us a favor. There was a NASA school in New Haven, and it was in a more urban neighborhood. And so then I now dealt with a new dynamic, which was I don't sound Black enough. And then I'm also like dealing with white kids who are like, but you're Black, like, you should be doing this. So then I also now went through another phase of the only thing that I was attached to was my identity as being Ghanaian. Like it was my thing. That was something I don't think I've ever been not proud of. But unfortunately back then, a lot of Ghanaians were saying they were Jamaican.
Why?
It was just a thing. When you see videos online right now, when people are like, it wasn't cool to be African, they were right. A lot of people were not nice. And this was like late 90s, early 2000s.
So being Jamaican then was cool than being an African?
When you're seeing like, what is it, Sean Paul, like that's like that era where like being Caribbean was cool. And so some people, especially the Ghanaians, I know they're gonna all try to deny it, but everybody was saying they're Jamaican at one point. And I was like, no, you're not. You're my cousin. How am I? Like, you can't be Jamaican and I'm Jamaican and I'm Ghanaian. How does that work? But, I think it was just a protective thing, right? We do different things to survive. But I grew up in a home that instilled in me that no matter what, like, I needed to be proud I was Ghanaian. No matter every chance I got, I would wear like, the jewelry, like the necklaces with the flag. When it was Ghana independence, I would paint the flag on my face. People were like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's just because my dad just like instilled it in us that you're Ghanaian, like be proud of it. Equia, like being my middle name. My MySpace back then had Asa by Kwabna Kwabna. People are like, what's the song on your MySpace? Because, you know, you used to put music, and I was putting Ghanaian music, you know, and so people were like, what is going on? Like, who's this girl?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just, I think if I didn't have a strong parental figure who was pushing it, because I would have probably, because when I look at my youngest siblings, like the last two, both of them are so different. You know, one is trying to also find a way to be connected to the culture, and the other one too is also trying, but she wants to change her name. She wants to just use her middle name,
which is
Ajwa.
Okay.
Yeah. So
she wants
that to be like her main name, you know, like, and you're looking at stuff like this, and we're realizing we're all, because of our parents, we're all finding ways to maintain our identity as Ghanaians, no matter what. And it's hard when you're out there, because living where I was living, there wasn't that many Africans around for me to feel like, okay, whose identity can I? Yeah, but you know who we really bonded with?
No.
Asians. So whether it was Indians, I met some people from Tibet, Chinese. They were immigrants, so we all kind of understood each other on that level of, okay, your parents are also like this and mine are like this. Our foods are different than what people expect. So that was like our bonding in my neighborhood where I lived in Connecticut.
Interesting. So, I mean, what college did you go to? When did you complete? And what career did you establish yourself into?
So that's a funny thing. So I did go to Western Connecticut State University. It was just a small state school, nothing fancy. I did want to go to a fancy school, but it didn't happen for me. And I was in school for biology. And I was trying to go in like the medical route in terms of wanting to help people. I kept telling myself, I want to help people. So everyone says, be a doctor. But it just wasn't, as I went through school, it wasn't fitting. And so I then went into nursing. And then that wasn't working for me either. And I was like, I needed more, and I found marketing. I found marketing while I was still in school. I didn't fully understand it because I was now trying to hide from my parents that I wanted to go into marketing, because they were focused on me doing more medical things, you know what I mean? But no, like I started running like social media for like small brands, like just trying to understand. And back then, Facebook and all that was still new to businesses. It was open to us, but...
What year was this?
It was still like around like 2011, 2012. Okay. Yeah, because I graduated in 2013. So right after, then it's just now... like I'm still like learning the landscape. But the first big break I had was when I was experimenting with a friend. She's a fashion designer, and she was self-taught. She was making clothes, and I remember she lived in New York, I lived in Connecticut, and she was like, just come to New York. And I was like, okay. So I took a bus, I went all the way back to New York, and we're just brainstorming, working on like ideas for photo shoots that we were doing ourselves. And I remember I just loved the process, and I wanted to do more of it. So I kept finding jobs, like odd jobs, internships that were letting me do that. And then in 2015, she got me my first ticket to Ghana. And at that time, I didn't even have a passport.
Really?
Yeah, because in America, I mean, you don't really need a passport, like to fly within. Okay. Yeah, like you have a state ID, you can get on a plane. So I never needed a passport. And she was like, no, you need to get your passport, you need to get your visa, but I'll get you your ticket. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, how am I gonna make this work? Because I had to go tell my parents, and she's like, why didn't you tell your parents? Because, you know, now, like, I'm older. I think it was like 23, 24.
But you were so scared to tell your parents?
Yeah, because they kept telling me they wanted me to wait. Like, they knew I was always curious about Ghana, but they wanted it to be like the right time. At that point, I hadn't been to Ghana for like 10 years, like over 10 years.
After 9/11.
Yeah, so it's like to them, they're like, oh, you were a baby, you were a kid, like back then. Like, why don't you wait till we're ready to go and then we'll take you. That thing that parents will take you and then we'll make it work. But no, my stubbornness came in and I said, you know what? No, I want to make this. I feel like if I'm getting a free ticket, why would I just let it go to waste, right?
Yeah.
So I found a way to get my visa. It was a learning process. I didn't know how to get a visa to Ghana.
But why did you need a visa? Okay, because you were using an American passport.
Yeah, I didn't have a dual. I didn't even know anything about a dual. I know that my mom had one, but yeah, I didn't know anything else. But they told me I needed a visa, so I was like, okay. I went to the Ghana, embassy like in New York. It was such a long process. I didn't even bring the right paperwork the first day. It was just, and I remember I'm doing this without telling my parents because I didn't tell them right away. I wanted to make sure I had it in my hand. And then when I go to them, like, I've already set it up. I'm just going. So yeah, that was how that happened.
2015.
Yeah, 2015 was my first trip to Ghana as an adult. What did your parents say finally, though? They were like, why? It was only a 2-week trip. They're like, why? What do you want to go there for? Like what? Don't worry, we'll take you. I was like, no, I want to go now. And luckily, I've been blessed, right? My parents eventually became supportive. I only told them a few days before. So they didn't really have time to adjust. And the funny thing is when they took me to the airport at that time, the flight got canceled and moved to the next day. So I feel like my parents like, this might be a sign. Why don't you wait? And I'm like, no, like I want to like go. And so my dad, regardless of if he agrees or not, he drove me to the airport the next day. And yeah, that was my first flight back as an adult on my own to Accra.
How was it feeling when you touched down after all these years?
I was excited. I was excited because it was my first sense of freedom as an adult.
Traveling alone.
And I didn't feel like a child anymore. I felt like I was making this decision because I wanted to. And it felt like if I'm going to do this, I had to prove to my parents that I didn't waste their years of working so hard to be in America. And now their daughter's talking about going to Ghana. And this isn't when Ghana, there was no year of return. There was no year of return, nothing. Ghana was just another country to some people. Yeah. It wasn't anything special, yeah. So it was an interesting, it was an interesting experience. It was actually the worst 2 weeks of my life. But how? No, I'll tell you why. But I also realized that that's what made me want to come back. Because I realized that it was the worst because I went in with what I knew in America, what I was used to in America. And I didn't adapt to the country that I had come to. So I don't have access to internet easily. I can't make phone calls the way I want to. I'm trying to get somebody to drive me from A to B, and they're telling me they can't understand me. I speak too fast. I can understand Chi, but I wasn't able to speak it fully. So now I'm forcing myself to speak Chi, like to taxi drivers, because there was no Uber back then. Uber didn't come, I think, till 2016. So it was...
You didn't have Google Translator.
There was no... Like, it was like you were really on the ground on your own, and you would tell somebody you want to go. And I think at the time, my friend's aunt, that's the house we were staying in, and she lived in Ofanko Barrier. So that's far.
It's far.
So imagine getting a taxi from Ofanko to like Accra Mall, because that's what I started realizing, okay, Accra Mall and ANC Mall, that was like my two places I would always try to...
the closest to your civilization, something.
Yes, that I would feel like, okay, I can now move from here. So even if I'm going to now do 2 trips, it would always be, okay, let me go to Accra Mall first, and then from Accra Mall, go to Ofanko or come... And it was a lot. It was interesting. And my friend too, she was here, but she knew people. I didn't want to interrupt her. You know, when somebody's come here, you don't want to now be like following them.
Everywhere.
And so I was trying, but it was hard. I remember crying. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing?
Really?
But then towards the end of my trip, I got to go to Kumasi. And my grandparents threw me a surprise party.
Wow.
And I hadn't seen them in so long because by then they were too old to travel to the U.S. like they were already doing before. They used to travel back and forth. And I think that's when it all hit me how important it was for me to be back home. She brought my, it was my grandparents from my mom's side. She called my dad's side of the family, and their house in Ishaya, so Ishaya, so by the Ahojo roundabout in Kumasi. Yeah. And
I'm not going to pretend I know, but
hey, you don't know Kumasi? Oh, really? Okay.
I know Kumasi, but not there.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. And Ishaya is like a pretty popular like area, yeah. But yeah, like she invited, and I was so surprised, and it was so like sweet. She was introducing me to cousins that I hadn't seen in years, and I was trying to remember people's faces, like uncles, and it felt really good to have family.
Wow.
And my grandfather was really proud of me for coming back. He was like, oh, you should go back to Accra, have fun, party it up before you leave. Everybody was like, no, stay in Kumasi before you leave. Yeah. And he's like, no, go and explore and come back. So I think that's when I ended the trip that way, no matter how much wrong went or the taxi drivers didn't understand me, I knew it was worth it because I got to see them and they got to see me come back on my own. Like, so, yeah, all
That's
those
beautiful.
Summers that I used to go and visit them. Now I'm an adult.
Yeah, so 2 weeks here, went back to the States.
Yeah.
Spent how long till you finally moved to Ghana?
So so I came and I went back and I'm like, what am I going to do in Ghana? Because this is, again, before a year of return, before anything. I'm like, what am I doing there? Like,
there's nothing to do.
I wanted to do the cliche thing at first. And I hate that the cliche thing is, oh, maybe I should do a charity. Maybe a nonprofit. See how I can help people. Because I said I always wanted to help people. But I learned very quickly that helping people doesn't always have to come at the cost of their dignity or to act as if they need me. I learned very quickly Ghana would survive with or without me. And I think sometimes we make that mistake because we think we're coming from a place of privilege, like we're coming to give. But no, Ghanaians will make it work with or without me. They're not waiting for me to come and save the day. Ghana doesn't stop just because I haven't come into the country. And me knowing this helped me say, okay, when I'm coming here to be a Ghanaian. I'm coming here to live like I'm from Ghana. So what does that look like? So in 2016, I told myself, I saved up money and I said, I'm gonna give myself 3 months of my own time, no help from anybody, to understand Ghana. And I remember everybody thought it was crazy. My mom was like, what, have they gone to take you to? Like, she thought like somebody was taking me to, they thought it was a boy. Like, I'm coming back and met some boy from the 2 weeks. I'm like, no, there's no boy. And yeah, so I came.
So there was no boy.
There was no boy. Not that there wasn't boys. I mean, Ghana, you men. That's another story for another day. Yeah. But yeah, like I came, it was in 2016. I believe it was in like September or October. And I was here. Now, the first mistake I did was when I first came, I tried to do my own thing and get like an Airbnb. And I hated the location. And I called my mom crying. I was like, Mommy, do you know anyone that I could stay with? Because, my mom said last time, like, oh, you should have told me. So luckily they did. In East Legon. That was my first time going to East Legon. And she was like, your aunt has a house in East Legon. Nobody's been there in a long time. Go and stay there.
And that's like the posh side of Accra.
At the time, I didn't even know, because I remember the Ofanko area was where I had of Accra. So when we were now driving in, I think my friend knew DJ Mensa. So DJ Mensa actually had come to pick us up at the airport. And he was like, okay, where is it going? And then my mom directed. And I was like, this place doesn't look like Ofanko. Yeah. Like, it looked a little bit different. So yeah, it was right next to the City Dia area where, I don't even know if I'm saying the right directions, but yeah. And she had a house there. And I was just so grateful. But my aunt, again, she's not there. She told me I would have to pay my own lights. I would have to, make sure I take care of the caretaker that was there living at the house. And, it's very common for families back there to have houses here that they haven't been to.
Why is it like that, though?
Do you know what it is?
No.
They're thinking of retirement. So they're building, and even if their houses are finished, they're not ready to retire yet. So the house is just sitting there. But they know they need someone to take care of it. So it's just...
Interesting. There's a lot of it here.
Even right now, my parents have a bunch in Kumasi.
And nobody lives in it.
Nobody lives in it. And then even in Weja, just recently turned one into a hostel because there's a school nearby. So, it's been interesting to see that a lot of my family members have empty houses. They'll call me and be like, "Oh, do you want to go and check on this?"
Yeah.
Because it's empty.
Wow.
And they're too big to almost rent.
Yeah, it wouldn't make any
sense because it's a big house. They're thinking of their kids, their grandkids, all those, their future. That's what they're building for. And they've spent decades building.
Why is it hard for them to move down, retire and move down? Let's not change the topic but answer that later. Why do you think it's very hard after they've built all these nice houses? It's very hard for them to be like, I'm retiring now and moving to Ghana.
You know what it is? Retirement in America is very interesting because as much as you've retired, you're still dependent on someone else for your income. And unless you've really understood yourself as a business person, I think a lot of them are afraid to fully let go and say, okay, I can come and start something in Ghana, or I don't need much, so let me go and make it work. They still want to live a very specific lifestyle. And so it's hard to balance that because you've now lived a big comfort. Coming to Ghana used to be a vacation to them, or they've spent years planning. But coming back, I think in theory, after all those years of working on it, in theory, it's hard to let go of the life in America now. I mean, and
it's
say,
addictive.
And say you're coming back. My parents have been trying to retire for a few years now.
Really?
And every time they're like, "Oh, it's because of your sister. She's still in school." I'm like, "Okay, mom. Okay, dad. That's fine." So we'll see. Leora graduates next year. We'll see if they will really come.
They are watching now.
Yes, don't worry, they know. So I moved into the house. And okay, so I mean, again, I'm very aware that even though I told myself I'm coming to start on my own, the privilege was there because I mean, nobody just has a family house that's available, right? So I started living in that house. I was on my own.
Alone.
Yeah. Besides, and the caretaker didn't really stay there. He had some family that he used to come and check the house, but he wasn't there all the time. So it was just me. Wow. And I was now trying to navigate water, getting myself groceries, buying ECG. Sometimes the lights would go out, and I'm like...
Oh, but then there's prepaid already.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
But you needed to take the card
to go buy.
Well, you had to go and buy it. So there was no, you couldn't do it on your phone or anything.
No.
So, and I didn't have Momo. I needed to get cash. So I would have to go get cash from the ATM. And then it was me really trying to learn all these things. It was hard. But it was hard for me. It was new, so it was hard for me. Then what I did was I started building, I know this is very random, but I started building drag and drop websites.
What's that?
So when I would go to some of these small businesses, I was still trying to do my American thing and use Google, even though I had a Ghana SIM now. And I noticed some of them had websites that they had domains, but then there were no websites on them. And I was wondering why. And they were like, "Oh, web developers, I paid them, and they're saying I need to pay them every year." And they didn't understand the full concept of...
They pay for one time, and after every year, they don't renew it, so the website just disappears.
Yeah. But also, they were never able to edit the website themselves because they think they needed somebody that can code. So I would just show them simple websites like Wix, like Shopify, I think even at that time. and just tell them, just do this. And then I'll tell them, buy the domain for like 10 years so you don't have to worry about it. Your website won't go off. And some people are just really grateful for that information, that sometimes they would give me something for it because they paid a web developer to do something similar and they couldn't. And so I was like, oh, maybe I can make this my thing. So I was still figuring out like what I was doing.
Yeah.
Which took a while. I mean, this is even around the time when Men's Gold was still around.
Really?
Yes, like they had, the entertainment thing that they were doing.
Yeah. What is the name of it?
I'm trying to remember.
I forgot. Huh?
Xylophone Media, yes.
Xylophone,
yes. And it was next to that gold office.
Yeah.
Where Mad Club is now. Yeah. So they had their office there, and I was always there because I met a friend, and she worked there. And so we would try to work on projects there. I was like, oh yeah, I can help with this and help with that. So, I mean, I was just getting to know people and building my network when I came, and just living off of my savings little by little. So yeah, it was just, that's what it was like in 2016.
So you didn't leave back or?
So in 2016 too, I met my current co-founder. His name is Bernard Kafui Sogbe, also known as Meister.
Okay.
Yes. So I met him, and at that time he was with Hubtel, I think, or Ringier. I can't remember. He's always been at different companies. And I used to just randomly go to him and be like, hey, I just need advice on this. I need advice on that. And I was trying to convince him to start an agency. Because he was always like, he had odd jobs that some people would reach out to him about. And he was managing Mr. Easy at the time. So he felt like it was just too much going on. Yeah. And then he started Dirty Rave. He did the first one. And I got to like help with some of that stuff. And I was like, oh, this is the stuff that I really want to like be a part of and do. But he was such a busy guy. I could not get him to pay attention to me. And then one day I got a call that my grandfather passed. And at that time I would go and see them in Kumasi, but then it wasn't like I was there the whole time. So when he passed, it was a lot. My mom flew down, and I was like, am I making the right decision? My grandfather dying made me feel like I didn't get a chance to like show him a specific life that I wanted to show him, of me trying to live in Ghana and uphold their legacy that they had been building. I mean, my grandparents were in timber. They also had a farm, and they were in cocoa, and they were in Kumasi, and they were doing the best they can. They raised all their kids, sent all of them to America on my mom's side. As I mentioned, my dad's side was a different story, but I felt like when he died, I was like, oh my gosh, like I didn't get to show him anything. Yeah. So I went back to America with my mom after the 1 week, and I just was like, I was a bit defeated. I was like, I'm not sure if I want to do Ghana this way. Maybe I need to go and take my life seriously first, and I need to settle, So I was in, this was in 2017 January 2017 April was when I finally left, because my grandfather died in March. So I was just in America, and I was just working, and every now and then Bernard will send me stuff. He's like, hey, do you want to be a part of this? Do you want to work on this with me and the team? And I will, because I just needed a distraction, but I was just still doing my thing. I wasn't thinking about Ghana anymore. Like, I'm going to be honest, because I was like, my grandfather passed, and I need to take my life seriously.
Was it your own idea? You were just reasoning this yourself? Or
yeah, no, I was reasoning.
There was someone trying to sow that seed into your
it was
mind.
Me. And I think it was me because there was just a sense of guilt that it took me so long to come to Ghana. And what did I have? Like, I was being hard on myself. But I think now, like right now where I am, I think he needed to have seen that I was coming. Because because it was something that him and my grandmother used to say. They wished they never sent all of their kids to America. Because then they would have kids with them, helping them with what's on the ground. So I remember they used to say that, and I used to feel like, okay, well, I'm here. And I think when I look at it now, that's what it looked like to them. Like, oh, one of their kids finally came back, because they used to call and like, oh, when are you coming? Those kind of things. But we never came, right? So when I think Bernard got married that year, and I guess him and his wife had a conversation.
It was still 2016?
2017.
17,
yeah.
okay.
So I'm in America now, just chilling. He's every now and then he'll send like, say, hey, do you want to work on this brief? Do you want to do this? Because he knew I was interested in that space. And then one day he was like, oh, you know, I had a conversation with my wife, and she thinks like, yeah, like I should try to revive like an agency. And he called his friend Clay, also known as Clay the Mogul, if you guys know him, from Nigeria. He asked me and Clay to come down to Ghana. And I was like, that's a big commitment, right? So I said, for me, I had certain content. By then, I now have experienced Ghana. And I said, I can't come to Ghana unless I can get my own place. Because there's some stories that I didn't tell you about that house, but things happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I put myself through that? Yeah.
You're willing to share what happened?
I mean, it was silly things on my part. I was being immature. So, for example, Uber had just started I think at the end of 2016. And I was excited. I'm taking Ubers. But I never realized that my parents had people watching me in the neighborhood. So can you believe that somebody called my parents and told them that there's plenty men coming to pick up your daughter?
Wow.
My dad called me like, what is this going? What are you doing? What are you doing over there? I thought you were out there to like learn like what's going on. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I'm like, there's Uber. He's like, there's no Uber there. Why are you lying? Like, because this is like, obviously they had just started, so it wasn't like, I'm like, there's Uber in Ghana. It's nobody's doing. So like, my parents too were worried because they were like, what's going on? Yeah, and I didn't know they had spies, but I should have known. Yeah, because they're very protective.
They always have spies.
That's so crazy. So when that Uber situation happened, I'm like, oh, so these people have been watching me all these months. I thought I was alone, so I wasn't alone. And another thing too is, so they didn't like the idea of the Uber thing, so they actually brought me one of the old cars from Kumasi and said, use this. It was a Prius that my mom and dad shipped down a while ago, but it was just parked. And me too, I was acting like I was afraid to drive. So
you were acting like you were afraid.
Okay, I was afraid to drive. I was afraid to drive. And then I had this friend that I had made. There was a bunch of friends that I had made by then. And there was one friend, and he was always like, oh yeah, let me be the one to drive you around so that you're not worried. This guy now my parents might watch this video. Okay, let me not be He almost kind of was trying to trick me out of he was trying to take the car.
He was what?
He was trying to take my car.
Like steal it?
I don't want to call him a thief, but so what he did was, he used to make it seem like you can't drive the car on your own, so let me go park it at my house. So he would drive me.
So you can use it for his personal stuff.
And that's exactly what he was doing. He was using it for his personal things. And I think one time, my mom, again, I did not know my parents had spies. My mom knew this police officer, and he had recognized the car, because when she comes to Ghana, she uses that car. So he thought he was gonna see her in the car, and he saw the guy. And she called, I guess they had a conversation. So the next, my mom called me and said, where's the car? I was like, oh, it's home. It's with me, it's in the parking lot. And then she goes, oh, okay, your uncle, he's at the gates. He said there's no car in the parking lot.
Damn.
So then I remember I get up, put my clothes on, and my uncle's sitting there, and he's like, where's the car? I said, oh, it's I had somebody go and pick up something for me. And he said, okay, well, wait for the person. Damn. I'm trying to call this guy. He's not picking up. Because he's not used to me, telling him. Usually I would tell him, maybe a day in advance. The car was just sitting in I wasn't really using it. The way I felt, I was in so much trouble. It was just so bad.
You were quite in a lie.
Yes. So I had to take them to the house the car was in. And they had the police guy was on the phone with my mom, like, I seen it. It's somewhere, like, in somebody's house. I don't know why it's in their compound. But luckily, like, I was friends with his sister as well. So then I had her come and cover. Like, I was like, didn't I tell you to go and pick up? I know. I was like, didn't I tell you to go and pick up something for him? She's like, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I just had the car too long. But
they kept an eye on you for your safety.
I guess back then I was so upset because I'm like, you guys didn't trust me to live here on my own. But yes, when I look back, again, I'm blessed. I recognize that sometimes God gives you blessings that you don't even think you need in that time, right? So yes, my parents definitely had people keeping an eye on me too much. But yeah. So this time around, when I was speaking to Bernard about moving to Ghana for the agency we were starting with Clay, I said, I need my own place. And I don't want to come unless I can fully afford my own place. So we all agreed. So I was still working remotely with the team. And then we got our big client, which was, I think, like Bet Power at the time.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I think this is, like, we found a space. We were living in Obojo.
Obojo, yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't even like, it was, still very like, but I was okay with it because by then now I've gotten used to Ghana. So I knew that I was okay there. And yeah, when I saw the space, I'm like, okay. So they're like, yeah, just fly in and set up. So now I needed to find a way to tell my parents that I'm moving. This is in 2018 now. So I said, you know what, let's wait a little bit. So in the beginning of 2018, we made the announcement that the agency is in existence. So by that time, Clay had moved down. He was the first. And he was at least settling things with Bernard. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to tell my parents, like, I'm doing this. So I'm like, okay. I kept waiting. And then he got into his master's program in the UK. He's like, if you don't come, I'm not sure if this is going to work. And I was like, wow, God, you really want me to, you're pushing me to the limit. So I finally told my parents a week before. But weirdly enough, I'm going to tell you this. 3 weeks before I'm supposed to fly out, everything that could go wrong went wrong. My car got towed. When it got towed, I couldn't find which pound it was in. And then when I finally found it, the fee almost wiped out whatever was left in, like, my bank account because it was in New York. And I just went to visit a friend.
Wow. And
I didn't wake up early enough to move my car. And so I thought my car was stolen because I would call all the pounds and they're like, no, we don't have it. We don't have it. But I think I was describing the car the wrong way. I don't know anything about cars. I had a Scion X something. It was a tiny little...
X something.
Yeah, it was like a tiny little car. And they towed it. They towed my baby away. And I'm like, what am I going to do? Do I leave the car and just go to Ghana? No. So when I found it, I had to take the car out. And remember, I hadn't told my parents yet. So I didn't
tell them that your car was towed?
I didn't want to tell them, no. I didn't want them to worry. So now I'm dealing with, so I had lost a lot of money and I'm upset. I'm like, oh my gosh. Then I forgot, I think a medical emergency happened as well. And then I needed to spend money on that. So I was like, am I even going to get money to even get on the plane? Because you
didn't book your ticket.
I didn't book my ticket yet. You will not believe what happened. And I honestly feel like to this day, I'm not sure what happened. So my friend was like, you know what? You're in a bad mood. Let's go out. I was still in New York because I finally found my car. I just paid this big money. And we went out to Afrobeats and Brunch. Shout out to Manny. Afrobeats and Brunch. And they had like an outdoor seating. Because me, again, I don't really like partying like that. So I was sitting outside with my friends. And this guy comes and, like, as party people do as a group, he comes with his friend and we're just talking and I'm telling him everything that's going on. Like, and they're like, can you believe this girl has not bought her ticket? She's going to go. My friend was saying that, like, she's going to go. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go, I think. Because I hadn't bought my ticket. I just had it reserved.
Oh, yeah, you can make the reservation.
Yeah, like you can make the reservation, but you needed to pay it within a certain...
like 72 hours or so.
Yeah, so like by that time, I was like, I really need to pay or else I know it's going to go higher. This is when tickets were cheaper too. Because when I think about the price,
How much was it?
It was around like $900.
Okay.
And I remember that was expensive because I had done it so close. So imagine back then. Anyways, so I had done it so close, and I didn't have 900, or else I would have wiped out everything. So I was like, okay, do I want to go kind of completely empty-handed? And I remember I was like, okay, maybe I should stay and like wait. But then I knew I had money when I got to Ghana. I just couldn't get that money to America. So I was like, what is going on? What do I do? So I'm telling this guy all this stuff, and then we exchanged numbers, like in general. Like he's like, "Oh, everything's gonna be good. Everything's gonna be okay." And then I remember he texted me. He was like, "What's the reference number?" He just wants to see that this is a really good price. Maybe he can book the flight. And then next thing you know, like I get notified, like he paid for the ticket.
What?
I know. And it was so weird because I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, what just happened? He's like, no, I really like dig your story. Like, I feel like it was a really good, like, I really want you to go and like live out your dream. And,
Wow.
I was so shocked. And I was like, wow, God really wants me to go. Okay.
Yeah.
So then after that happened, I felt like I had to tell my parents. And what's weird is I actually lost that guy's contact when I got to Ghana because I changed my phone. And I felt like to this day, I've been really trying to like,
Really?
yeah.
If he's watching this, contact.
Yes, please do. Because he was Ghanaian, but he was in the army, I think.
Yeah.
So I think like it kind of like resonated with him a bit. But yeah, like I told my parents, and they were like, "What again? I thought you said you gave up on this."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm going back. But my dad, I think this time was more prepared. He's like, you know what? That's how he left home. When he left home in Ghana, he was the first of his family to travel. And they were all telling him, no, don't go. And so he felt like, you know what, he had to support me. And I came down, I started getting to work. And a week later, Bernard left for the UK, and I was running a company in Ghana on my own.
Wow.
With about 6 staff members.
Interesting.
And yeah, that was that story.
So how was Jumbo Spaces born?
Okay, my favorite thing.
Yeah.
So Jumbo Spaces is a creator space. We provide like 3 different things: space for creatives, education, and then access to resources and funding through like our internal resources or like partners. And that came about because obviously moving to Ghana in 2018, all the way up until last year when we opened, I've been working in marketing and advertising, and I've seen the importance of creatives. Coming from America, I've seen the importance of like having and how creativity can change a country. When you look at the most developed countries, most of their like economies were revived through the creator ecosystem.
Yeah.
And I felt like Africa just needed structure in that space in order for us to also blossom. This is our time, but I don't think that we've invested enough in creatives to continue to make sure that our story is told, to spotlight things, and to bring in money where it needed. So we put the agency aside to say, you know what? We've already been doing this on the back end of running creator campaigns. My first influencer thing was called Ripple. I don't know if you ever heard of Ripple.
Ripple is cryptocurrency?
No, funny enough, Ripple, and it came out around the same time. During the pandemic, all agencies had to shut down in Accra.
Really?
And yes, there was no active campaigns except for influencer marketing. And at that time, we were one of the only ones running actual influencer marketing campaigns. So we were getting a lot of people reaching out to us to work with creators. And so we worked with some of your first creators, like someone like Zubi or like Dako, the list goes on. We were some of their first people to give them a campaign.
Interesting.
Because back then they were just focused on like a Jocelyn Dumas or Nana Ama McBrown or Sakode to promote stuff. But then the alcohol ban happened with the FDA. The FDA saying that celebrities cannot advertise alcohol. So they needed a second plan. But they weren't confident about influencers yet. So what we did was we did a campaign with Jameson Connects. where we were able to sell out their tickets just using small creators who had less than 10K following at that time, even some of them. Yeah. And being able to use that case study allowed us to really be seen as people that work with creators. One of the first agencies to give my idea a chance in terms of giving influencer marketing a chance in Ghana was Ogilvy.
What?
Ogilvy.
Okay.
So Ogilvy is a global agency. So when I found out there was one in Ghana, I got to meet with the team and I spoke to them about influencers and influencer marketing, and they were like, well, we haven't had like the strongest luck with some, like, I mean, we do it, but it's not like a core part of our campaigns. And so I was like, why don't we co-manage some of the influencers for you, and you let us know if that's, and they gave us a chance. So that's how we were able to work with Coca-Cola, Fanta, and like run campaigns, even Voltic as well, because Coca-Cola bought Voltic at that time. And so, yeah, I was having fun managing influencers through like other agencies and stuff, but then obviously also running campaigns through our agency as well. And yeah, when 2020 hit and nobody could do anything, lockdown, influencers were the only thing, like only way to like advertise, and
because they were still creating content.
Yes, but I started to recognize that people weren't getting paid fairly. Agencies were trying to trick influencers into almost doing it for free. And so we came up with Ripple at that time. It was going to use AI. This is before AI was a buzzword. So what it did is we created an algorithm that calculated your influence. It didn't matter how much your following was. It didn't matter if you only had 100 followers or if you had 10,000. We were calculating your influence based off of just a few things: the quality of your content and the content itself, like what was in it, what value would it have if it's to go viral. Because what we realize is most people who go viral don't even have a huge following. Most of it, the time back then, you remember like going viral was like an accident, Mr. Eventuary, or like all these other smaller ones, is because they've done something that amuses people. Patapa at that time was Scopa. Yeah, it's one corner, and then the Scopa was the Scopa Tumana. Yeah, like people were looking at stuff like that and thinking like, oh, but that's influence. How do you measure the success of that? Is the actual content, is it shareable? How does it make people feel when they get it? What quality is that content? And that's what we wanted, to create an even playing field. But it didn't go too well. We dealt with a lot of issues, some from the tech side, some also from agencies sabotaging us, some coming in, giving us a brief, but wanting access to data that they didn't have. It was a bunch of things. And we said, you know what? Let them have it.
Really?
Yeah, because
what were some of the things they were doing to sabotage you?
So it would be, so like I mentioned, they would reach out. Ogilvy, for example, understood using us as a third-party provider for creators. Others, agencies didn't so much. What they would do is they would ask us to get creators, and then they wanted us to bring the creators directly to them, and then they would call them on the side. So after I've negotiated what the creators feel like they're worth, they would now call the creators directly and be like, oh, we want to offer you this instead.
Damn.
And so it was like and the creators would call us like, somebody else just called me. I thought you guys said that this was a campaign that was running. I'm like, and I'll call the client. They're like, oh no, it was a mistake. It's never a mistake, you know? And Ghana, it's Accra. When people say Ghana, they really mean Accra, and Accra is small. There wasn't that much for us to really fight over. The blessing came in us now getting clients in South Africa. We got some clients in Kenya, Nigeria. We even worked with, was it Thriller?
Triller.
Yeah, the app.
Triller?
The Thriller.
Triller, oh, okay.
It was like a music editing app at the time, yeah. We got to work with them. And it was like, wow, okay. Like, we didn't need to focus so much on Ghana, and we still got to put Ghana creatives on campaigns that were happening in other countries. Like we flew Berlin to South Africa for the Black Panther premiere. And these are things that like we wouldn't have been able to do if we were so focused on the small, as in like the small way that Accra was fighting over the few brands that they were working with. And we know that what needed to be done was a space. We need to start creating traditional means for creatives on the continent, and not just in Ghana, like all over the continent. We needed a space the same way the tech hubs have it. So I was working in tech as well on the side, some of it through consulting and some working directly on their growth side. And I recognized that most startups in Africa, where the resources came from spaces. So there's iSpace, Impact Hub, MEST, and they all had spaces. MEST focuses on education. Impact Hub is like more of an accelerator that kind of grooms startups. And iSpace is like more of like coding and like technical training and skills. Where was that for creatives, right? In film, music, arts, and that. And so around 2020 is when we started thinking, what does the future look like for the creator ecosystem in Africa? And if more international brands want to use creatives, how are they going to be able to if there's no infrastructure for them? And that's what kind of started Jumbo Spaces.
Interesting.
Yeah, it came from us realizing somebody has to be the foundation, and we wanted to do that. So whether an agency wants to work with us or not is no longer a competition. We support agencies because we're able to even educate creators on how to make sure they're professional when they're dealing with them.
And it don't get cheated or
Exactly. We even have a legal clinic as well inside of Jumbo Spaces. So we have international lawyers that kind of assist with contracts, reading, and a number of other things as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the things Jumbo Spaces are providing and what you guys have been doing over the years. It's almost a year now.
So okay,
Few months.
so when we first started Jumbo, we found an abandoned house. Like it was kind of abandoned, and luckily we knew the owner, and they were so gracious enough to give us access to the land, and we rebuilt it. And it allowed us to get a discount like on our rents because we're the ones kind of reviving the space. And what we did was we offer spaces for people to like film podcasts, some of their first YouTube videos. We access to internet to edit their videos. We have a recording studio. That was the first thing built in our space, was a recording studio, because we've always been passionate about music, as I mentioned, with the concerts we've always done. And then the last thing was we started helping creators find funding for projects that they had already started in the past, but they were reviving. We noticed a lot of creatives had started some really dope projects before the pandemic hit, but financing and opportunity kind of slipped, and so they needed that support to revive again. So we were able to do a bunch of cool events and things like in our space by giving them the space and saying, hey, take the space. Let's take you through how to work with sponsors and a number of different things so that you have the money to put together this initiative. And then we started traveling. We went to Rwanda to start having a conversation with other people about the creator economy and how creatives can basically solve youth unemployment on the continent. When you have access to YouTube, when you have access to online platforms where you can get paid, you no longer have to worry about when your next job is. Some of our creators are feeding their whole families with what we're like helping them with. And we were always helping them from the agency side, but now we get to help them without them feeling like it's about us. The space is about them. So Jumbo Spaces allows us to support creatives without any ulterior motives or ultimatums.
I like that.
Yeah, the space is for you guys.
And I'm sure maybe one day I'll come and film there.
Whenever you need to, it's fine.
Now, I mean, obviously it looks pretty now. It's all white, beautiful place. I don't think it's easy doing anything in Ghana. Do you want to share some of the challenges you went through, building these spaces, and even how you overcame them to make it this successful?
I mean, I think one of the biggest things is looking for support. When we talk about a creator space, I think this is one of the first in Accra. And the reason why I'm saying it's one of the first is people think it's a co-working space. And so we've allowed them to feel like it is because it's the closest thing that it reminds them of. Also, what we've recognized is because our place is apparently very nice, I'm putting air quotes, very nice, creatives feel like they're not sure if it's for them.
Really?
That's what I've been told. They
Why?
feel like it feels officey. But I also feel like creatives are allowed to also be in spaces that are structured, but it's just for them. You know, like, you know, downstairs is where like you can edit and do different things. The studio has its own vibe. Upstairs, you can change the background and set designs to whatever you want. But when you first walk in, there's a little bit of structure. So sometimes it feels like, am I allowed to come in here as much as I want to?
Yeah.
And we tell them, yes, you are. Like, it's your space. But one of the hardest things to deal with, I think, has been the rates of the FX, like the dollar rate.
Okay, yeah.
Because as you're building and you're saving up and you're trying to decide on how much you're spending or how much you need to make in revenue, depending on where, like how you're saving your money, which most likely is in cities, that city amount isn't the same, maybe even after 2 or 3 months. So maybe
3
if you
months
put,
in a day.
even in a day. So let's say you put 10,000 cities, that 10,000 cities might have been $900, let's just say. The next day it's like way less. Like you're looking at maybe 8 or like, you know, like and it's just really hard because you're trying to budget for your whole year or at least the full quarter. And it's so hard to do that. Another thing too is trying to work with local vendors, people making promises to finish things at a certain deadline, not being able to. When we first opened on May 1st last year, our place upstairs had no doors. Where you were, I know you've been to Jumbo.
Yeah.
Where there's doors now upstairs and stuff, those were not there.
Wow.
None of that was there. None of it was completed. But I said, we have to open. And we want the space to grow with our creatives. As they need things, we will just build. So right now we're working on outside. We're working on an outdoor space to kind of complement the events and stuff that we've been already working on. And so, yeah, like, I mean, when it comes to challenges, besides that, it's wanting maybe more support from, I mean, the government or things like that. I mean, you know, again, people are still trying to understand what we're building, but we're marketers. I think what's been really good is we've gotten the word out there that we support creatives, and that's what's important to me. This year,
And creatives are the future.
they are. America became America through film and TV, through Hollywood.
Yeah.
And imagine what that can do for the continent. We cannot continue to just say that we have a film industry and only 2 countries support that out of 54 countries like on the continent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like because the internet almost feels small, we feel like we've done a lot, and we have. But so much more can be done when people are coming together and building like space for Africans to be able to do these things. And that's what we want to do. Our next location, we're looking at Rwanda and then Kenya, Uganda. And we want to continue to kind of be in this space, teach people about music rights, film rights, publishing, and literature. Even digital creators, how to protect themselves legally, their image, their IP. Creating an IP bank of African creatives and how to use that IP bank on a global market to sell that and continue to enjoy residual royalties from our intellectual property as creatives. People don't even realize that games like Ampe and all those or the Oware, like those are things that are intellectual property that somebody could just take from us and we wouldn't even know. And we've already seen how that is happening. Because no one's protecting the culture.
There's so many games on Play Store that is animated and it's not African.
It's not.
Like that.
No.
Yeah.
And these are things that I'm having conversations with different embassies. The World Intellectual Property Organization is really passionate about this subject. And even a Frexen Bank. How do we protect the intellectual property of African countries when we ourselves haven't valued it yet? And that's why Jumbo Spaces is important. we're the foundation. We're not looking to be the only step for creatives. We just want to lead into where creatives can now blossom and go out their own. So whether you need legal advice, whether you need advice on what to do next with your career as a creative, all those different things, that's what we want to be for creatives. We're not just a space. We're not a co-working space. We're a creator space. We're home to creatives. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. That's an amazing story from you coming, starting 2 weeks.
I can't believe this.
To building something this big, even working with the agency, easy is a superstar now.
He is.
And you work with, was Meister.
Yeah.
Managing him. It's been a journey. Would you say it's been worth it for you though?
I think it's been worth it. It's hard. The economy hasn't been easy, but recently some of the creators that we've worked with are talking about the amount of money they're making now. And I remember just 5 years ago, or even 4 years ago, when we started some of these.
Can you give us some numbers?
I mean, some people are making like $6,000 a month.
That's good.
Some people are making $10,000 a month.
That's good.
And this is real money. That can change the world, that can impact lives, that can offer jobs
for the youth. Yeah.
For the youth. And so as much as, and if you think about it right now, I was talking to somebody who's in tech and they're like, they've been telling us for years to go into tech, but now there's so many layoffs. You can't be laid off from being a creative. Only you yourself can stop yourself from being a creative, but you can't be laid off from it.
I like that. That's a punchline.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I think about that, and I'm like, forever, there's always value in being a creative. There's always going to be value in music, sports, arts, like all of it. That never goes away. And unless we start taking it seriously as Africans, that too would be something that is taken from us, like gold, silver, cocoa, everything. And we can't let them take away our creativity. It's the last thing that we have. And so when you see like Afro beats going to the world, right now, one of my biggest passions is in protecting publishing rights, because we're even losing that. People are buying up our masters. They are owning us in different ways. And Jambo Spaces is just here to protect creatives and their work. And we need help. We need help to do it. Right now, we've been bootstrapping.
No, elaborate on that.
So we've been just using our own funds. We've been using our own funds to make Jambo Spaces happen, to take care of creatives and things like that. But what we really need is support from organizations, whether it's used computers, laptops, all those things, cameras. They all help because we're training creatives on how to use those things. And when they eventually start making money from it, they can invest in their equipment. And I'm sure that's how you started, right? You started with one and then you started investing. There's a huge rental culture happening in Ghana, but even then, it's still something that some creatives still need us to, they can't afford it. And so we're curating grants and opportunities for creatives to have that, and we're always looking for support from people or organizations. But I think I'm excited about the future of the creator economy, and I'm excited for Jambo to be known as like the Andela for creatives, or the YC for creatives. We're looking to start accelerator programs with a few partners. I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, Hayford. This is so much. I'm so serious. And we can't do it alone. And that's why we had to remove ourselves as an agency and really put ourselves in a neutral space in order to support all creatives, everyone in the creator ecosystem, whether you are a stakeholder or someone that's actually curating the content. We needed to be on both sides. That's what.
I think it's I know there are other agencies that is not owned by Black people trying to penetrate to. So being owned by a Black person, all we can do is to go support. I'm very sure people will reach out to Jambo Spaces in terms of collaboration and stuff.
I would really appreciate that.
I'm very sure.
I mean,
look at the TV market, right? I have the data on the TV market. It's been on the downtrend, right? and then the influencers are on the uptrend. So obviously brands are leaving to the influencers, but then they go to the influencers and cut their budgets into 10 and give them 10%, right? Cheating the influencers. And you guys come in like, listen, that's not fair.
It's not.
We want to make sure that they get exactly what, you know.
That's true.
It's a no-brainer. It's that number is going to increase. Brands are going to come to influencers more. Numbers are increasing, influencers are increasing. So it makes more sense to invest, even if it's an investment opportunity.
Exactly.
It's a no-brainer.
And I think based on what you just said, I think people don't realize free media is growing because right now we're going through a recession globally. There's an economic hardship everywhere. Free media on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, it's what's actually saving people, is entertaining people. It's changing lives. People are changing their diets based off of it. They're making decisions on where to work, how to work. We can't continue to just let that seem like it's not important. Traditional media will always have its space, but we need to also recognize when new media joins in. And free media means I don't have to order DSTV if I can watch a movie or film developed by a creator on YouTube. Or I can watch, you know, Gisela, Alma Berlin, Kojo Jr., all these people like Make or Even Hayford, Captain Hayford, Web Nation. I'm watching all of these things on my own now. That's entertaining me while I go to bed. Streamers in the US have better numbers than TV stations. And now they're even impacting ad budgets there as well. So it's really important that we support creatives and we don't try to pull the rug from them because that's what it feels like currently. It feels like there's a bit of people are not understanding why do you get to make so much money? Because they've always been dependent on traditional media. But traditional media needs to catch up. I think
it's not so much money, to be honest. I think we deserve 100 times more. But because of the mediocre mindset, we think it's already plenty.
No,
and that's why because if
they
you look
don't
at
take into account that the amount that camera, this camera, these mics
cost.
I mean, this one, I think one mic is at least $150. It might even be more,
like
especially because this is a road just for, like just the road itself, not even the stand. The stand is a separate cost. And then you're asking me to do this content for you and you want to pay me less than what my equipment costs, or you want to pay me less than what my time costs. In order for even other people to value it, they need to understand what goes into it. And that's why Jambo Spaces, the education side, this year we're focused on education. Last year was on the space. I think we've made everybody know that our space exists, come and do events there, come and film. But now it's the education. How do we educate the brands, the agencies? We're educating everyone. We're even doing sensitivity training on how to speak to influencers, how to make sure you're using their image responsibly as a business. Because I'm sure you've had campaigns where people run ads on you and they didn't ask your permission to.
Yeah, they will use your videos without your permission.
Exactly. And some of them think it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's not, why would you be upset about that? But they don't realize that's intellectual property that belongs to you.
You had to go hungry for 1 year to buy that camera you filmed, that video on. But yeah, a lot of education is very important. I've been behind the scenes just like you guys for a long time, and obviously I think we deserve better, as
You do.
We do, and people have to understand that, and the sooner we can get that to their head, the better. Anyways,
we're getting there.
Yeah, little by little.
I know you did your Influencer Fest.
Yes.
Congratulations on
Thank you.
Putting that together on a day where there was a bunch of...
10 events.
And I think that day is what I realized, that everyone does see the value of influencers, but only when they want them to bring their crowd to their business. And that tells you that the market understands their value, but they don't think they deserve...
There's no policing around that, and that's why they just walk in and out to do what they did. But that's why you are here, right?
That's exactly why we're here. We're here to just be a source for everyone. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the partners have this year. I know that, there's be some traveling. Rwanda is like our next location for Jambo Spaces. And the Rwandan government has been so supportive. So I'm kind of like excited about
that's
that.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited to
I wish
see
you
what the
could say the same
future.
for Ghana. Let's not go into that.
I appreciate Ghana for it started a movement. Year of the Return has started a movement.
True.
Like I said, growing up, being African wasn't cool. And
Now,
when I'm online and I'm like, you guys think we're cool now?
yeah, they literally fly to Ghana, go to the Mokola to eat fufu and do a TikTok video and post.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
I'm so shocked.
Yeah.
Shea butter used to be like a thing your mom would put on
Now
you.
you can find it in Walmart.
Yes. But people used to say it stinks. Why did you put that on you?
Brainwash.
But now we don't have, like, I'm happy my kids don't ever have to. I mean, I don't have kids now, but I'm happy they won't have to deal with that stigma. Like, they get to be proud out loud. They get it in their music.
What switched this? Is it the year of return?
It definitely was the year of the return. I'll give it credit because, like I said, I was here before it.
So you saw how it was?
I saw that, and I know Bazoma, another Ghanaian woman, was behind the PR and how the world received the year of the return. And I'm grateful for that because I think the way she told our story to the world and the way she included the world into our story allowed us to have this movement that's going on. And I'm sure with her, she went through some of the same things that I was discussing. And she was able to curate a story that spoke to Ghanaians, the diaspora, like to anyone that heard and said, Ghana is home to you. Come back home. And even if it's not Ghana, you heard it, whether you're from Senegal, you're from Ethiopia, you heard that call and you felt like, I should see about going back home. And in America, when you go back there, they're craving a connection to Africa. And that's why even with what we're doing with Jambo, we're working with people like in terms of film. I think I mentioned to you, like in film, digital creators and literature, we have a library at Jambo with only African writers on the wall. And the idea is to have content creators curate content to start letting people know about these writers, to start amplifying our stories because we can't do it alone. There's 54 countries.
Yeah.
People don't even know there's a Spanish-speaking country on our continent.
There is?
So, yes, there is. It's Equatorial Guinea.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, Equatorial Guinea. And then there's Angola, which speaks Portuguese. Like, we have so much we can connect to the world. Yes, it was through colonialism, but there's a way to grab that back and kind of take control of it. And that is through film. That is through music. That is through storytelling. And so there needs to be a home for it. So hopefully in at least 5 years, you'll start seeing Jambo spaces pop up in all of these countries and supporting creatives in each one so they can tell their stories and we can get to learn more about them. And there'll be more years of returns like all over the continent.
That would be beautiful.
Yeah, I'm excited.
There's only one way: support, and also give advice to people. Do you think?
You want me to give advice?
Yeah, I mean, you embarking on a journey.
Yeah.
Right. Now you would say it's worth it, somewhat.
Yeah, no, I think it's very, like, I'm very much grateful and I think it was worth it. I don't think I would have made another decision if I could go back.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Someone might be where you were 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. 5 years ago.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody like that? I want three, though. 3 best advices.
I think my first one would be to have faith. I don't know whose auntie came to visit us, but to have faith in God. Like, to have faith that you're where you are. You might be like so broke. You might have nothing. Your ideas might still be in your head. You might feel like it looks so far away, but to have faith. That's my number one. After that, the next advice is networking. I got this from Issa Rae, actually. Network below. A lot of people feel like they have to network with people who are already known for things. So you'll see somebody that he's known for a videography or he's known for music. Like, instead of going to like a Sakodia, why don't you find like an upcoming, learn what their challenges are, learn what it is at certain levels, before you get up there. A lot of people just want to reach the top person.
And you can never be close to their circles.
No, because they already have their circle. They don't need you. They already have people that that they've been working with. But if you're really looking at, like, and I remember it was Issa Rae that gave me if you're looking at your level and slightly above but not too high, you get to now grow with your network. Sometimes it's literally growing with people who you know are in the same space. And then lastly, travel. Travel to other African countries. As much as I have a love-hate relationship with Ghana, I realized why Ghana was the first in a lot of things. I think that regardless of our hardships, our people are very peaceful, but we get it done. Like I think I said in the beginning, Ghana will move whether you come here or not. Like we're still gonna make it happen. Whether you come to help us or not, it's going to be okay. And Ghanaians adapt. We'll complain, but we adapt. I mean, look at how we're adapting to the economy right now. Yeah. And so when you travel, the reason why traveling is important is because it allows you to appreciate Ghana. You go to South Africa, and South Africa is beautiful. But you'll also realize that South Africa isn't Ghana. When you go to Kenya, it's the same thing. And you'll decide, like, I love Ghana as Ghana. I love this, I love that about this country. How do we find a way to connect them? That's why with Jumbo Spaces, we're looking to even have our spaces connect with each other, bringing creatives from Kenya to Ghana, and vice versa. Because sometimes that travel allows us to really talk about Pan-Africanism. When we're talking about supporting other Africans, we can only do it through travel.
True.
I know that you're traveling soon, and these are important things. People need to know, hear your story through their audience, and vice versa. And so, those are my three. I think faith, networking at your level or below, and then traveling. Yeah. With
that being said, I'm traveling. Reach out to me if you want to collaborate. If you're a diaspora and you want to share your story, there's email on the screen. Also, we're going to Rwanda right after you.
Yeah.
I'm coming back to Gambia, guys. Interesting. Last year we was in Gambia, Senegal, Tanzania, Zanzibar.
Oh wow!
I had to. It was fun there. The videos is coming.
Zanzibar
guys.
Must have been a vibe.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
But it's not for single people.
It's any African country.
I mean, going there as a single person is
any African country for single people. I don't know.
But so this year we're doing Rwanda, Namibia, Nigeria, South Africa, and there's other country I forgot. So traveling is definitely.
I'm excited. I'll be watching.
Yeah, thank you. I'll be open to all this network, this creative in every single country.
Please let us know. And people do come to us, and we literally just make connections. I think some people are scared, but yes, just come. We can't find you and help you if you don't come to us, right?
How would they know if you did?
Yeah, of course. So I'm excited to connect with some people that we know. One of them I think you would really like to talk to is maybe the Glitch Africa team. I'm sure you've seen Glitch Africa's content. And there's some others I'm sure we can connect you to.
I would like to collaborate with everybody.
Yeah.
Link me up. She's the plug, guys. Jumbo Space.
No pressure.
So it's been a great conversation, and thank you so much for sharing your story in details like you did.
I can't believe you got it out of me. I don't think I've ever been this detailed with anyone.
Really?
Yes. So thank you so much. And to all the creators out there, thank you for watching. I believe in you. I'm always watching TikTok and commenting on people's videos. It's like I'm just trying to see what's going on.
Let me ask you a question about TikTok. Why am I not monetized on TikTok?
That's another issue. Most of it is because of the fintechs. Blame finance regulation across countries. People think it's the social platforms, but for example, the amount of taxes happen per country. In America and other countries, you don't have to deal with regulation in each territory. It's done in one integration. Coming into Africa means each country wants their own payment integration. There's no universal one. There's no PayPal that works in every country. Even Paystack and Flutterwave are available, but unfortunately, they still only work in very specific countries. So let's say Ghana actually has very strict fintech rules that people don't realize. And a lot of them need to follow that or else they can't even operate fully. When Twitter was around, they tried to do tip jar, and it took them some time because they needed to, talk to Momo. They needed to talk to all these, the Vodafone Cashes, all these other people to make sure they can find a way to get people to get the money when they're paid, and then have it taxed as well.
We know being united is what is affecting us as Africans and funding our poverty. Anyways, thank you so much.
We thank God that YouTube has figured it out, though.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing. YouTube is the most monetizable on the continent.
That's so true.
And
do you know Facebook made the most money? Instagram made the most money?
I believe that. Through the advertising.
Yeah. And then you can't still monetize Instagram.
You can't monetize on Instagram.
And YouTube is, shout out to YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube has been the most supportive. When we speak to them, they're really committed to being even more supportive. And I need more Ghanaian creators to use YouTube. I know they say that their followers are slower.
Yeah.
But you started somewhere on other platforms. That's why I tell them, I said, when you started on Instagram, you didn't start at 1 million. And so you need to give YouTube a chance because that's the one that's been with us from the beginning.
I'm an advocate for YouTube.
Yeah.
Unless you are not close to me, I tell everybody around me, like they know, create a YouTube channel, start making videos now.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, you were saying something like you comment down every TikToker's video and you support them.
I comment on every TikToker's video. I'm always looking at what's going on. I want to support everyone from like the TikTokers with 100 followers. I found a TikToker that does sign language for music, for Ghanaian songs. And I've found storytellers who are using like their own acting themselves. So, I mean, keep creating, don't stop. We're here to support you. If you're ever in Accra, come to Chado or Trade Fair, Jumbo Spaces.
How do people find you?
Ohima Equia K. That's my socials online, and Jumbo Spaces across all socials as well. So I'm excited. Follow, join the clan. We're good.
I like that. Thank you so much for watching. If it's your first time, don't forget to like the video, share to friends and family, subscribe. Stay tuned for more amazing content coming your way. Without further ado, let's say bye-bye to the people watching.
Bye. Right? Thanks for watching.